One thing about every spring that really causes me a little bit of anxiety is like the timing. Well, good morning, gardeners. I was just going through my seeds today and I figured that I would tell you guys what I'm growing this summer, or spring into summer. And it's super windy today. It's like 80 some degrees today, and tomorrow it's gonna be 50 something. So it's gonna be crazy windy. Great for the spring garden though. But I'm gonna try and go in order, and it's funny, as I was going through these seeds, I realized that I may have missed a couple things. So we'll see. And I'm gonna go in order from how I'm going to plant, from when I'm going to plant forward. So to get started, I'm gonna do a bunch of different squashes. So this is one I did last year. This is a golden bush scallop squash. And I didn't really have a lot of luck with it. Actually, all I got was foliage, so it's probably a little bit of an over-fertilization issue. So we're gonna give this another shot. I'm not super crazy about it. I've had scallop squashes before, but it's worth a shot. And so we're gonna start that. We have some small sugar pumpkins. So we like growing these because we can use them for pies and stuff like that. If the plants make it long enough, then we'll use them for something like for decorations, or we'll paint them at Halloween time. So these are really good, and these are the small, basically like a winter pie pumpkin. So we have a pack of ornamental gourds. I'm gonna give that a shot, and I'm actually gonna put this not even in my actual garden. I'm just gonna put it off to the side and just let it grow on the ground, see if we can get some gourds. Never grown gourds before, so I figured it'd be kind of cool, maybe based on the picture of them, maybe get some greenhouses, some birdhouses or something made. I don't know. We'll figure it out. I just figured it'd be kind of neat. They take a really long time to grow. It's like 120 days, it says on the package. So we're gonna get those started pretty early. We're gonna do our standards of green zucchini and yellow squash, just because I grow yellow squash just because we like to eat a little bit of it. And actually, it's funny, we've had years where we get so many squashes that you can't even give them away. You almost have to sell them so people can get them. So we'll do a couple of those, but the zucchinis we like for zucchini breads and stuff like that. My wife has actually been pan frying it lately, which is really good. So we'll continue with that. I've got some Boston pickling cucumbers here. So we'll do these. I like these. They get smaller. They're probably, about maybe 5-6 inches as the cucumber. And we like to eat those. We'll obviously pickle them if we do good with them, but we like to eat them as well. But I also had Fairy Morris gifted me they gifted me a bunch of seeds last year, but this one in particular we saved. This is an Armenian yard-long cucumber. I've never grown before, so I figured it'd be kind of neat to get something new in the garden. We're always trying new things. It's a good slicer from what I understand. I've grown, one year we grew Market More 76s. It's an heirloom variety. So we enjoyed those. They get plenty big, but these they just look different, so it'll give us a little different look in the garden. And we can kind of spread them out because we have a bunch of trellises. I joke a lot of times on our podcast, the Backyard Gardens podcast that is, that sometimes I feel like my garden looks like an erector set with all the trellises, but we grow a lot of trellising vegetables, so this will be a good different look and also give a different variety throughout. So the Boston pickling and the Armenian yard longs are going to be a definite for us this year. And we actually have 2 packs of the Boston pickling. That's how much we like them. And historically, that's what I've grown for years. Then we're going to try and grow some cantaloupe. I am not the best cantaloupe grower in the world. I'm going to give it a shot again. We grow them in tandem with our watermelons. So, and it's funny, as I did this, I don't even have a watermelon seed. I got to get some. I totally blanked on that. And I want to grow baby watermelons. We've grown the 50-pound watermelons before, and that was fine and dandy. I got one a couple years ago, But the problem is we can't eat them fast enough. And from what my experience is, when you grow a watermelon or any kind of vegetable and you get like a really big fruit or vegetable off of it, if you grow a smaller variety, you actually get more of a harvest. So I would prefer to get more smaller watermelons than a few giant watermelons. And I know 50 pounds, 20 pounds isn't a giant, but to me it's a giant because we just can't eat it fast enough. And if we were going to have a party or something, you know, a lot of times we'll play Grease the Pig, if you've never played that. So when you take a watermelon and you wipe it with like Crisco or Vaseline or something, and you get in a pool and you try and hold on to it and everybody wrestles for it and it just kind of slips around. You can do that with the small watermelons too. So we'd rather have like a whole bunch of those. So, but the cantaloupes, I will tell you this, if you've never grown a cantaloupe yourself, when you harvest your cantaloupe, it doesn't even taste like what comes out of the store. Usually when you get out of the store, a lot of people say that it's got like a musky flavor. These don't have that musky flavor. When you grow them yourself, it's really, really sweet. It's a totally different profile. So I would highly recommend giving it a shot. And what we do with these, because the watermelons and cantaloupes get so big, is we actually plant them on the edge of our beds and let them spill out into our yard. And then we'll just let them grow that way. The only thing I don't like about that is like the grass and stuff like that will grow up around it. So we have to be careful and try and trim it as much as possible. But it also provides a little bit extra shade for the melon so it doesn't get burnt or something in the sun. So that should help with that. Now previously, I have written off bush beans completely. And then last year, as I came back through, I had kind of decided that I wanted to grow bush beans again, and I use them as space fillers. So if I have something come up and I don't really have something planned, I can just direct sow one. So we're gonna do this blue bush, blue lake bush bean. So we'll do a handful of these. But what we're really gonna try and grow this year, which is new, are bush lima beans. I've never actually grown a lima bean. We do enjoy eating them, but we don't enjoy like a whole lot of them. So that's where the bush varieties can come in, because if you grow them on a trellis, you can just get a lot of different, you can get a lot of a harvest, and sometimes you just don't want that. So we can control that better with a bush variety. So we're really excited to try the lima beans. And so that goes into, once we get onto the trellises, we've got some Kentucky pole beans we're gonna do. We've got some, I think it's burgundy royal green beans, purple beans. We'll do those again. We saved a lot of those seeds, so we'll do those. And we're gonna do our black-eyed peas, or as some people like to call them, cow peas. We'll do those again. But this year what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of lean into the Burger King method a little bit, which if you don't know what that is, when you go to Burger King and you get the French fries and you get like that one random onion ring, and you're like, ooh, you feel like you got a treat. Well, we do the same thing with that, with our black-eyed peas, but we'll put a black bean mixed into the trellis. We did that last year and it worked out really good. It's kind of like a fun game of like who's gonna get the black bean. So we'll probably do that as well. I did not have a super successful black bean year last year, so that will kind of eliminate that. So we'll kind of just work that in. If we do we'll probably do an 8-foot row, and then every 4th bean we put in, we'll put in a black bean. And so that kind of work with that. We've also got Cajun Jewel okra started and stuff like that. We will direct seed those, but I do want to go back to starting the seeds inside just to get a bigger plant to get a quicker harvest, because in this greenhouse, this whole side right here is all going to be Cajun Jewel okra, and it should get about this tall. So we shouldn't have, we should be putting more established plants in the ground here, and without getting those 10-foot tall like the green velvet okra we've done in the past, then it makes a big difference. So we would like to do that. We're going to start actually this week. We're going to start with the squashes and work our way up, because at this point we're about a month out from our planting date for the squashes. So we don't want those to get super root bound because they grow really fast, but we also want to get them in early enough so we can beat the squash vine borer. Ooh, that's a mouthful. So we'll get those in early enough before it comes out so we can start getting a harvest before we start the epic war with who I like to call the little bastard, because that's all he is. He's like, man, it's just like a pain in the butt. So we'll get started on those early, and then when they start producing, what we're going to do is we're going to start another crop, and that will, because inevitably the disease will get them and stuff like that, so then we can drop them in and keep the harvest going throughout the summer. That's the plan. That doesn't mean that we're going to stick to it completely, but that's the idea with that. Well, the pumpkins will start around the same time, and then the cucumbers will start maybe about a week later, because I want the soil to get nice and warm. Like I said, today it's really warm, but it will get cool again, and then that's just going to take us a step back. So we need to be kind of vigilant about that. So that's basically what we're going to start this year. Now, I do want to take you around. It looks like the winds kind of died down a little bit, and I'm just going to show you a couple things that are making me happy in the garden. We did a big harvest yesterday, so we've harvested lettuce, kale, collards, mustard greens. We got a couple more turnips yesterday, and I got a baseball-sized cabbage. And so somebody is inevitably going to ask, like, why would you harvest a baseball-sized cabbage? Well, it wasn't growing. So if it's not growing anymore, we're just going to go ahead and harvest it and get it out and let it go. So I gave it to my wife. She was like, we can make 2 egg rolls with this. And I was like, yeah, but you can also make some boiled cabbage. So there's multiple ways to use it. But let's just look at a couple things going on in the garden. And there's just a few things that are just doing really well and are making me super happy right now. So one is, check out this container. So I did what I said I was going to do, and I put a broccoli in the middle and then surrounded it with rutabaga. And man, it's pretty. Look at that. We're not getting ahead yet, but we shouldn't be far off. And the rutabagas are coming along pretty good. We're actually starting to get roots, so that's definite win in our book. And this bok choy, I mean, you saw the last video where we were planting it. I mean, look how much has grown in about a week. So this is a good bok year so far, a bok choy year so far. So we'll see how it goes. I have historically not had the best of luck with it, but it looks like it's getting its act together. So we could potentially, I'd say, be harvesting this right on time. I did get a little nervous that this bed would not be empty in time, meaning I'd have to let things wait. So it looks like we will in fact have this row empty. This row back here with the turnips should be emptying out fairly soon. It's going to be a staggered emptying. So the bigger ones will be harvested and then the little ones will grow. And I've actually been harvesting the leaves around it a little bit to get the sun in to where we direct seeded over it. So that should fill out just right. And this kohlrabi that's been sitting here for a long time has just really taken off. I mean, look at these plants. We're starting to get a little bit of, I guess, what you can call a root. So, you know, we'll start being able to harvest these periodically. And I'd really like to harvest back here first and then have this open. But it is what it is. One thing about every spring that really causes me a little bit of anxiety is like the timing. You know, it's like I love growing all of these vegetables in the garden in the spring, but when we're just getting ready to start these seeds, I start to get worried that they're not going to come out in time to get the plants in. So we really, you know, this year looks like it's going to be a pretty decent year weather-wise. And then when it cools back down like it's supposed to, these plants should start to really grow faster because that's when they really thrive, is in the cool weather. I've gotten a lot of comments about, you know, am I worried that the plants that I'm planting are going to freeze and stuff like that? Because we do have impending cold weather coming in, and you always will up until your last frost date. And my simple answer is no, I'm not, because they do well in this cold weather. And as a matter of fact, today, like we've had a couple days when it's in the 80s, they don't do as well. and they'll start to limp a little bit in the daytime and stuff like that. But in the mornings when you come out and it's been cool, they perk right up and they do great. So it's a little bit of a gamble, and we just have to be prepared to pull stuff out when it's time to put our star crops in that we're really excited about. Because there's no point in wasting the space. If it's going to go to seed and I don't need to save the seed, that's the key, then I just need to pull it out and move on. But it looks like we're going to start going in the right direction. And all of this lettuce back here, you can see all of this is starting to really take off now. And this cooler weather is just going to help magnify that and really push it to grow faster and stronger. And we're actually going to be pushing more fertilizer through the injector, which I will be doing a video about soon because I'm starting to figure it out. So we'll be pushing that through so we can push new growth during that time and really get it active during the cooler weather. So if you have a new variety or anything that you're trying this year, or something you're really excited about trying to grow, let us know in the comments, because it's always exciting to see what people are really excited to grow. And it can be anything. You know, for me, I didn't think I'd be excited to grow lima beans. I mean, when I was a kid, we called them frogs and I wouldn't even eat them.